We are coming to you from the city beautiful, Chicago, Illinois, where tonight, WGN Sports on the U presents White Sox baseball. There's Paul Canerico, Alex Rios, Adam Dunn and the Sox as they get set to butt heads with Terry Francona's Cleveland Indians. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrelson as we get set to bring you the first of this three-game set. As you know, the Sox in that brief weather abbreviated series against Minnesota lost those two ball games. Gavin Floyd was really good yesterday, but unfortunately the base on balls by the bullpen really hurt, and we lost it 5-3. So we're taking on a ball club right now that's been hitting a lot of home runs.
Surprisingly, they have more home runs than our club, and leading the way, Mark Reynolds and Carlos Santana. There's a look at Reynolds, who's hit 7 home runs this year, and Santana, who provides it with a whole lot of power from both sides of the plate. They added some players to get stronger in the middle. And stronger they are. The question is, will their pitching hold up? But as you can see, these two guys are leading the way. They hit the ball out of the park, and surprisingly for Reynolds, he's hitting .298.
And for us tonight on the bump, Dylan Axelrod.
Dylan Axelrod has thrown 2 really good games out of the 3 he's thrown. However, he's 0-1 to show for it. So when you take a look at how he does it, which is change speeds, move the ball in and out, and keep hitters off balance, Dylan has done a surprisingly good job. Now, he started as a number 5 starter. Right now, he's throwing a whole lot better than that. And we just have to hope that he has his good stuff tonight, because Justin Masterson goes to the mound. He's 3-1 with the ERA of 167. Let's see if the offense can come to life.
All right, sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way. Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. By Honda. Visit your local Honda dealer or go to shophonda.com for current offers. By AT&T. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible. And by Ford. Proud sponsor of your Chicago White Sox. Check out America's freshest lineup of fuel-efficient vehicles at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com.
For the moment, John Danks is back in Chicago. They wanted to take a look at his progress. He arrived in the clubhouse yesterday, and earlier today, a meeting was held to determine the next course of action for the Sox southpaw.
They feel that that's the best plan right now. I mean, they're just sticking with the plan, and you know, from what the medical reports are and what he's doing, it's better to send him back there and make sure that he's strong enough when he does go out, whenever that is. So it's just continue on the plan that they had.
For those of us who've never maybe watched like extended spring, what's the difference between extended spring and like a rehab assignment? Is it just a matter of game situations and such?
Yeah, I think you can stop the game in extended spring. It's kind of like you do a B game. You can stop it at any time and have him redo it. He can throw, you know, I think if he gets extended in some innings, they can just stop it. You know, it's just you have more control over what's going on than you do once he actually goes out.
So it's back to Arizona for John Danks. And stay with us. We're going to have the lineups of the first pitch after a break. Your home for the most live sports. Tonight's game's available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting. It's provided by 97.5 FM ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only FM Spanish language sports station. So our Sox take the field, and let's take a look at how Terry Francona is going to line up his Indians. Michael Brantley, who's not been hot leading off, and it's Jason Kipnis, Asdrubal Cabrera, Nick Swisher in the 4 spot. With a resurgent Jason Giambi, Carlos Santana, Mark Reynolds, who's been all everything for them, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Drew Stubbs rounding it out. The White Sox defense is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And it's Diaz, Danks, and Rios in the outfield, with Gillespie, Ramirez, Keppinger, and Konerko in the infield. Hector Jimenez getting the start behind the plate, and Dylan Axelrod on the hill. It's going to be a bit chilly here tonight, although the temperature's in the mid-50s, and Dylan, the last couple of times out, has been pretty good. He knows exactly what he has to do. He has to change speeds. He has to go in, out, and just as importantly, he has to pitch up and down in the zone. So hopefully he'll have the kind of game that he's had 2 out of the 3 times he started, because on the other side of the field, it's going to be Justin Masterson, who's been all everything. If we saw him in Cleveland, he was as good as he can possibly be. The umpires for the game tonight: Jeff Kellogg behind the plate, Chris Conroy is at first, Paul Schneider is at second, Paul Schreiber is at second, and Chad Fairchild is at third. So Dylan continues to loosen up. He's just about ready to go. Robin and Jeff Manto especially would love to see the hitting come to life. He's been a woeful on base percentage. He's at 271. And his team just doesn't take a whole lot of walks. They're last in the league in that department. So let's see if we turn things around here tonight. We're ready to play baseball. I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
Hi, Stone Pony. Thank you. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here with WGN Sports on the U. So happy you could join us for the first of this 3-game set. Left fielder Michael Brantley will lead it off for the Tribe. 25-year-old outfielder comes in hitting at 246, no homers, and 5 driven in. Gillespie even with the bag off the line at third as he takes ball 1. This is the 4th meeting between these two clubs. In the first 3, Cleveland has won 2 of them. Ground ball, right side. Keppinger. So 1 out. And here at the ballpark, 330 down the left field line, 335 down the right field line, 375 in the gaps, and 400 straightaway center. Here's a young man out of Northbrook, Jason Kipnis. Off to a slow start, but make no mistake about it, he is a good player.
No, and he's going to heat it up. And one of the things that has been plaguing him and the Indians is Jason's inability to hit with runners in scoring position.
Last year, he was probably the best on that ball club in that category.
This year, he started out 1 for 17 in that dubious department. But he will make solid contact.
1-1 to count. Pass into center field. Jordan Danks, that's a can of corn for him. And 2 out.
And here's yet another guy off to a slow start.
And make no mistake about it, he's a good player.
If they decide to ever put him on the open market, I think there would be a whole lot of teams that would be very interested in Asdrubal Cabrera.
One of 3 switch hitters in this lineup. You got Cabrera, Swisher, who's on deck, and Santana. First pitch strike. And the count 0-2. Indians with that 252 team average, 4.65 team ERA. Yeah, 25 home runs.
That's somewhat surprising, but you realize when they added Swisher, they got Santana back and added Mark Reynolds. It was going to put a lot of thunder in the middle of that lineup, and it has done just that.
Nice inning for Dillon. 1, 2, 3 after half inning of play. It's Tribe nothing, and the good guys coming to bat.
Alejandro Diaz is leading it off. Then it's Keppinger and Rios. Adam Dunn, who's struggling the DH with Paul Konerko, Connor Gillespie. And it ends with Ramirez, Jimenez, and Danks in center field getting the start. The defense behind Masterson. Brantley, Stubbs, and Swisher in the outfield. Chisenhall, Cabrera, Kipnis, and Reynolds in the infield. Carlos Santana behind the plate. And big Justin Masterson on the hill. He's 3-1 this year. The ERA just above 1.5. This is his 5th start. He has completed one. We saw that up close and personal in Cleveland. But opponents hitting just 116 is a testament to how good his stuff has been.
We had no chance in that ball game.
Now, he was just overwhelming, and every one of his pitches was thrown in almost the exact spot he wanted to throw them.
And before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours. Piazza takes first pitch strike. One and one to count.
Masterson in 27 innings of work has 25 strikeouts, just 9 walks, and he has yet to give up a home run. That's probably going to be put to the test tonight.
Chisenhall gets a nice hop, and that's out number 1. So very quickly, we went out. Let's check out our picks to click tonight. And our director and crew, well, they went with Jimenez. He's going with Gillespie and Nicole Sanchez, director of mass communications for our Sox. And she's a lady on a mission, trying to get my partner's iPad hooked up.
Well, yeah, it's the MLB section of the iPad, and it's only important if you do baseball for a living. Other than that, it's not relevant.
Keppinger, birthday boy yesterday, 33. He's off to a slow start, as are some of the Indians. He's at 153, and he has faced Masterson 7 times, and he's drawn the collar. Three and 0. Don't help him out. Rios on deck.
Pretty close to an auspicious occasion, and that is a Keppinger walk. He has not had one this year. This is 73rd at bat.
And there's a one-hopper. Nice play by Kipnis. Bad throw. So that'll be a base hit.
Base hit E4. As Jeff goes up the middle, this is a good part of the play. But Kipnis doesn't have a chance to plant his back foot, and he also gets under the throw.
So he commits his first error. And here's Rios, Alex. Hitting at .313, 5 homers. He's driven in 9. He is 9 for 38 lifetime off. This 28-year-old right-hander, 6'6", 250 pounds. Went to college at Bethel College in Mishawaka, Indiana. That's where he met his wife.
And he's one of the remnants left over from the trade that sent Victor Martinez to Boston. He came from the Red Sox.
Good rip by Alex.
Red Sox actually envisioned him to be a full-time relief pitcher, thinking about him maybe as a premier setup man, maybe eventually a closer. But the Indians saw starter potential from the beginning, and that's pretty much where he stayed as a member of the tribe.
There's that breaking ball. His wife, Merrill, has a cookie business called Home Plate Cookies. In 2012, last year, she decided to donate all the profits to the Mission of Mercy in the Dominican Republic.
That's really nice.
Yep.
It's a great idea.
Checks it up.
A Okay, so we're seeing a pitcher, Hawk, and we're seeing him twice in a relatively short period of time. Advantage to the pitcher, advantage to the hitter.
Oh, it's got to be to the hitter. Got to be to the hitter. You know, the more pitches you see, the more dangerous you become.
That's true. And he really surprised a whole lot of our hitters with that sharp breaking slider, which he doesn't have yet tonight.
That was the most by far that our guys have talked about an opposing pitcher this year.
And not surprising.
No. No, you're watching the game at home on TV, and you see the ball come over the plate, and you say to yourself, man, there was a good pitch to hit. But in that game against us on the 12th in Cleveland, it's hard to see on TV that late movement.
It's true. The hitters will tell you, though.
Oh, yeah.
The hitters will tell you by the swings they take.
They were all talking about his late movement on that sinker. That's low and inside.
Yeah, nice job by Santana.
I would say right now, Stoney, that after that game he pitched against us last time, let's get him early.
Well, this is the time that he really is vulnerable. Most starting pitchers in the first inning, it's a little difficult because you come from a bullpen mound to the game mound, which is going to be different, even though they try to keep it close to the same. But
some teams do.
Some teams do, yes. But you got to adjust to it, and that's why most pitchers' first innings are so difficult for them.
Oh, just underneath it. High, towering pop-up. So Brantley runs under it. And that's out number 2. Well, as you know, being a pitcher who pitched in both leagues, some teams in the visiting bullpen will make that thing like a mountain, way high. And then when you walk out there on that pitching mound, it seems like you're throwing off nothing.
Well, they do check it, but in between times where they check the mounds, there could be little nuances. Of course, it's strictly from a groundskeeping standpoint to make sure that it's exactly as it should be. Occasionally, it'll be a little higher, a little lower, or the slope will be a little more or less gradual in that visitor's bullpen.
So here's Paulie. Paulie 9 for 36 with a homer and 8 RBIs off Masterson. Good eye right there.
If he doesn't get that one, he could have some problems. Jeff Kellogg deciding it was off the plate. Good pitcher's pitch. That's one that the hitter says, no way, it's a strike, and the pitcher goes, are you kidding? The ball is right there.
And makes a nasty pitch on him right there to even the count at 1. So 2 on, 2 out. And the count 1 and 2. Come on, Paulie. Right man, right time, right place, right now.
Brantley has a pretty decent arm in left field. Saw that in Cleveland. Stubbs actually throws very well for a center fielder. And Swisher very much average in right, arm-wise.
Got him, and that'll end the threat. So we have 2 on, 1 out. Can't do anything with it after 1, no score. Sox pick 7 and pick 14 plans. You select the games you want, including great matchups like opening day, which is gone already, and the Crosstown Classic Series. Pick 14 plans, well, pick 7 plans. Great deals. Call 312-674-1000 or whitesox.com. Swisher, Giambi, and Santana. There's first pitch strike.
Swisher's been a much better hitter from the right side this year, hitting .367 as opposed to .242 as a lefty. Home runs equally divided, one from each side.
Ate him up, Alexei. Quickly one out. So here's Giambi, 42-year-old veteran.
He was just activated when we were in Cleveland, and he still has some big power. Although he's not the hitter he once was, you make a mistake and he can lose it for you.
Giambi with 431 home runs.
The most amazing part about his career was this playing aspect almost never happened. He was second for the Colorado Rockies managerial job, and they interviewed him multiple times and eventually went with Walt Weiss.
Which at this point in time, they're happy they did.
It's looking pretty good because they're off to just a magnificent start. Those aforementioned Rockies, 13-5, game and a half lead over San Francisco. The Giants winners of 3 in a row and dominating in their home park.
Got the shift on. Alexei on the first base side of second. And look at this. And man, 6'4", 240 pounds. In years past, they'd be screaming, spend some meal money, Jason.
Well, unfortunately, he put it in a perfect spot. It's a high fastball as Dillon tried to get it inside. Couldn't get it in quite far enough. And you have to play deep. You have to respect his power, so he dumps it in the left. Gillespie actually does a really good job of staying with that one and making sure that Giambi, who can't run well, doesn't even think about going to second.
Here's Santana, hitting at .380, 4 homers and 9 RBIs. This guy is dangerous.
Santana's been very consistent this year. .385 right-handed, .375 left-handed. And he has had a little more power from the right side than the left.
He's got that live bat.
They made a very good deal getting him originally out of the Los Angeles Dodgers system. That, I believe, came in the Casey Blake deal. Paying big dividends. They took a part of the future, gave up a piece of the puzzle that LA thought they could win with. And Santana's still around and very productive.
Count evens at 1. First of 3 against these guys, and then over the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it'll be Joe Maddon's Tampa Bay Rays, who has, we speak, are leading the Yankees 5-1, bottom of the 5th in St. Petersburg. Three and 1 to count to a dangerous, dangerous guy.
There's another dangerous guy, Mark Reynolds, sitting in the on-deck circle.
Nice pitch. Full count.
It's a fastball situation, and he went with the slow breaking ball. This one just dives out of the zone. A great pitch in that situation.
But Dillon's got to be able to throw everything and anything in his arsenal at any time.
No doubt. For him, fastballs in distinct fastball situations usually don't work well.
He gone. 2 down.
First strikeout of the night for Axelrod. It's almost a carbon copy of the last pitch. Dives down and in, and Santana with that high leg kick makes no contact.
So here's Reynolds on a 5-game hitting streak. Average at 298, 7 homers and 18 knocked in. Takes a fastball strike. Outfield really spread out. Two big gaps out there. Checks it up.
During this streak, Mark Reynolds has been red hot, and he's hitting the ball out of the ballpark, which is something he usually does with regularity, to go normally with an alarming rate of strikeouts.
Dillon and Jimenez taking a lot of time hooking up. Two and one. Drops it on him. 2-2.
That one buckled the knees of Reynolds as he couldn't pick up the spin right away. It is dusk. The lights haven't completely taken over yet, so visibility is going to get better, but right now they're not picking up the spin exceptionally well.
There goes Giambi, and that pitch is out of play. Last year in Baltimore, Reynolds hit 221, 23 homers, drove in 69, struck out 159 times. In 09 at Arizona, he hit 260, 44 homers, drove in 102, and struck out 223 times.
It's the all-time record.
Full count.
Now Paulie's going to tell Dillon that he's going to get way behind Giambi at first. He'll start there, but back up with the pitch.
So 2 out, 2 on. And it'll bring up Chisenhall. Chisenhall, 24-year-old third baseman, hitting at 224, a couple of homers he's driven in 8.
First time there's a man at second, that what necessitating the meeting at the mound to go through whatever set of signs they're going to use. Runs the first and second with 2 outs. The Indians just a touch over league average, and our pitchers pretty good.
2 on, 2 out, 1-1 to count. Close, didn't get it.
Tried to go down and in for a strike, but he didn't get the strike and he didn't get the swing.
This is not going to work, falling behind. In the count. Drew Stubbs on deck. That's trouble. Ball gets by De Aza. So a couple of duck snorts here in this inning. Go on with a walk. They score and it's 1-0. And still hitting with ducks on the pond.
It's a single and an RBI, and the runners advance on E7. Chisenhall caught this one off the end of the bat. Drives in his 9th run of the year. And Alexei does a whale of a job. Once it gets by De Aza, if he doesn't get to it as quickly as he does, and then stop, plant, and throw, they're going to score another run.
So here's Stubbs. Now they say change it to a double if you're scoring along with us, which a lot of our viewers do. Stubbs has been swinging the bat. He's 5 for his last 11. Now go ahead, make the play. There you go. That's good baseball right there because he knew who was running. He knew the Stubbs had good speed. Steve, that's good play.
You can't get him at first, but the man standing on your doorstep at third, and it's out of the inning. But the Tribe takes the lead, and we'll be back. The inning. Drew Stubbs has great speed, and he just taps it just barely up the line. Jimenez does a nice job. They finally record the out and out of the inning. So it goes 2-5-1. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible.
So here's Gillespie. Garner hitting an even 300. And he is 2 for 3 lifetime off Masters. Takes first pitch strike. That ball hit high. Stretch. Stretch. Get on back there, Will. You can put it on the board. Yes. That ball just kept going, and this game is tied at 1.
First home run, first run batted in as a member of the Sox. There's not a whole lot of wind, but what little there is certainly helped that one get out of the ballpark. Connor hits it way up in the air. And we told you that the fact that Masterson had not given up a home run would be put to the test tonight. Swisher with no chance.
Alexei fouls it back. Lays off that breaking ball. His second career home run. Last major league home run was back in 2011 with San Francisco.
That's a tough park to hit home runs if you're a left-hand hitter. Tough park anyway to hit home runs, but especially that right center field corner goes on forever. What a job he's done. Guy you thought would be working off your bench, now starting every day.
Alexei in the right field. So 1 down, and it'll bring up Hector. Jimenez 0 for 8. Jimenez. Jason Hall playing back.
Those 5 guys swing from the left side against Masterson to try to combat that outstanding slider he's developed. What he will try to do with left-hand hitters is sink that ball away from him, try to get him to roll over and ground to second.
And that's high. 3-1 to count. So the second walk issued by Masterson. And a reminder, watch the game in luxury from behind home plate in the Gold Coast Tickets Club here at US Cellular Field. Gold Coast Tickets, you got a guy. The great folks. That's Sharon and everybody. Gold Coast Tickets.
Jordan Diggs getting an opportunity to start tonight.
Gordon 2 for 5 since being called up. Now field straight up for him. That's a souvenir left side.
A good pitch to go after because Masterson, not wanting to go to 3-0, wound up throwing it right down the middle. But Jordan a little tardy.
Three and one. Yanks that one foul.
That game was postponed in Colorado, where the Braves were to take on the Rockies. And that, I believe, puts baseball within one of the all-time record for rainouts and postponements the first month of the season. So the weather all over has been problematic.
So full count. On the outside edge of the outside corner.
Take another look at it. He takes a little something off, sinks it, and has a tiny part of the plate.
So here's Diaza. He grounded out to Chisenhall at third. Just did get a piece of that one. That one at 88. Alondra now 5 for 18 lifetime off. Big right-hander. Yanks that breaking pitch way foul. Checking some other scores for you. After 5.5 at Fenway, Red Sox leading Oakland 9-3. Bottom of the 5th in Philadelphia. Phillies and the Pirates tied at 2. Washington trailing St. Louis 3-2, bottom of the 6th at Nationals Park. Bottom of the 6th in Cincinnati, 2-0 Cubs. Another souvenir. Well, we had a beautiful day here in the city. Beautiful.
We're not going to see the likes of it for at least another week.
Boy, it was just perfect.
Great day, and it's gotten a little chillier at night, but it's still very manageable to this point. It's in the mid-50s.
A little bit high. One on, one in. 1-2 the count. And that's a can of corn. Got in on him. But the home run by Connor Gillespie. We are tied at 1. Sox fans, join us on Saturday, May 11th at 6:10 as our Sox take on the Angels. Also, the first 20,000 fans will receive a Paul Konerko bobblehead presented by Pepsi. So for tickets, call 866-SOX-GAME or visit whitesox.com.
And remember, tomorrow night, it's Dog Day #1. There's 2 of them this year. There's still plenty of seats available. However, the dog area is sold out. So any of you canines that want to call in, need tickets, sorry, you can't come. But your owners can, so come and buy some.
They all gone. Here's Brantley. Takes first pitch strike. He grounded out to Keppinger.
Brantley had a good series against us in Cleveland. Played a terrific left field and stung the ball a few times.
Yeah, he played that wall beautifully a couple of times as well.
Actually showed me a little more arm than I thought he had. Made some very accurate throws.
Two and one. Three and one. Ball hit hard but foul. Thank you. Payoff. Ball hit high and deep in the right center field. We got a man there right in front of Bacardi at the park.
Brantley continues to hit the ball hard. But Jordan Danks is one of the best outfielders we have in the entire system. This is a breaking ball that kind of rolled over the middle of the plate. Danks measuring it and realizes he has 2 steps to spare before hitting the wall. Nice job.
Those 3-2 get me over breaking balls have a tendency to go a long way.
They do that.
Kipnis. He also went out to Jordan. And that is hooked foul. Checks it up. Another 3-1 count.
And Jason last year he had 257. For him, kind of a down year, 14 home runs, but he drove in 76. The Indians envision that he's going to be a 20-plus home run man eventually and be a run producer.
So Dillon throwing a lot of pitches to each and every hitter.
Dillon's only fanned 1. He's not really a swing and a miss guy. They're normally going to put the bat on the ball. Before the game, Bears safety Major Wright throwing out the first pitch. And just a little outside. We've got Tim Jennings scheduled to be here on Thursday. So get a chance to come see him. And you just might get an autograph or so.
Here's Asdrubal Cabrera. Got it out to Konerko. Takes first pitch strike.
The Indians put Brett Myers on the disabled list, so he was supposed to face us. He's the one lone guy that we actually did well against in Cleveland, wound up winning that game. But we will not face him here.
One out, 1 ball, 1 strike. So Dillon having trouble finding that strike zone.
Kipnis is one of their base stealers, and they don't have many. This team has just swiped 5 bases, but caught only 1 time. And you would expect that Kipnis, if he thinks he can get a good enough jump, is going to be going here. Well, Terry Francona doesn't have the most aggressive approach as far as the base paths are concerned. Terry, of course, from all of those years with the Boston Red Sox. As you take a look at him, he did sit back a lot and wait for a lot of those bangers to just do some damage with the bat.
He got a good pitch to hit. He is really upset with himself. Pops it up. And now Diaz takes charge. Calls off Alexei. 2 down.
Our Xfinity pitch tracks will show you that this ball is up and away. A little higher than he would like. And it turns into a harmless pop-up.
So here's Swisher. He popped up to Alexei. Outfield, they're fairly deep. Slightly to the right, bit of a gap in left center. And there's first pitch strike. And top of the 3rd down in Houston. Mariners leading the Astros 1-0. Felix Hernandez making his 4th try for victory number 100.
I like his chances in that one. I'm not sure if Houston's going to do any hitting against him. His ball club will probably score in that park. Indians management only wanted to go 3 years on any of their free agents. But it took 4 years to get Nick Swisher. They're very happy to have him. And he's very happy to be that close to his home.
Had a little lean going towards second. Very slow moving ball game. Taking a lot of time. Big hack at a hook.
If you got another curve or a straight change, you're probably going to get, Nick.
There he goes. Almost 30 seconds between pitches.
Kipnis is going. Gets a pretty decent jump, but it becomes a moot point as Hector didn't catch it.
When you're throwing a lot of pitches and you're taking almost 30 seconds, it's hard to find any kind of a rhythm, isn't it?
It's hard to find a rhythm for the pitcher and hard staying your toes for the infield.
He gone. Third ball down and in. We'll go to the bottom of the third, still tied at 1. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 34 years. To join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Keppinger had a little infield single. 1 pitch, 1 out.
The ball was 91 miles an hour. Masterson has 95 in his pocket. We saw that with the strikeout of Konerko in the first. But to become the pitcher he is now, as opposed to the pitcher he was, he's learning that making that fastball 3 or 4 different pitches with various speeds in the same arm slot probably works best for him.
Alex walked his first trip. Tomorrow night, Jose Quintana against Zach McAllister. Zach McAllister, make your plans to be with us. And that is out number 2. Third strikeout for him, and that'll bring up Adam, who popped up to left field.
This Indian ball club defensively has been the worst in the league. They're tied percentage-wise with Minnesota, but they made one more error than our ball club, the Angels, and Minnesota.
He did not go. Big series out at Big A in Anaheim. Rangers taking on the Angels. Holland against Blanton. There's breaking ball strike, and the count 1-2.
Good backdoor breaking ball as he kept it on the outside corner.
That fastball at 94. That's in center field. Got in on him. So a quick 1-2-3 inning, and we'll go to the fourth. That's the story. You check out our WGN Sports on the U tail of the tape. And here in the top of the fourth, it'll be Giambi, Santana, and Reynolds. First pitch strike.
Another high strike, but that's where you want to stay on Giambi. You throw it in under his hands, you're going to be in pretty good shape. Here comes a breaking ball down.
Giambi had a flare, a poster child duck snort out there in the left field. Came around to score on another flare, duck snort by Chisenhall.
There's the career numbers, and they're pretty impressive. On base percentage 403 for a big man who's hit 431 home runs. Driven in 1,411 runs lifetime. For the Indians, this road trip started in Houston. then coming here to face us for 3, an off day, and then Kansas City for 4. So it's a long trip for the Tribe.
He gone.
See where Jimenez sets up. Dillon gets it right there. And when you hit the glove and it's framed as well as Hector framed it, you're going to get the call, and Jeff Kellogg rung him up. So for Axelrod, that's strikeout number 3.
And here was number 1, Santana. Takes a strike. Very quickly to count 0-2.
Dillon is using a little of perhaps what Jake has taught him about making that ball move away from the left-hand hitter. Jake probably does it the best. Greg Maddux was maybe the best at it that you could possibly be. But Jake will throw it right at the left-hander's hip, and then it moves over the plate. They give up on it, take a called strike. Dillon's done that a couple of times here tonight.
Oh, working the ball.
Got to do that if you're not overpowering. You know, if you're 97, 98, pretty much you can let it go and hope it finds a good spot. But in Dillon's case, he does have to work the ball.
Souvenir left side. We mentioned Quintana against McAllister tomorrow night. And the finale on Wednesday, Chris Sale against Corey Kluber. Now, tomorrow's game, if you can't make it to the ballpark, will be over Comcast Sportsnet, and Wednesdays will be over WGN.
And the Wednesday game is a day game. Getaway day for the Indians. Some teams you'll have that type of reciprocal with, where you'll give them that day game on getaway day so they can get to where they're going next. Talking with Terry Francona in Cleveland, and he's ecstatic to manage his team.
That's foul.
So they came to him. He spent 1 year doing television. Said he enjoyed it, but he was waiting for the right spot. His father lives about 60 miles away. Tito Francona, very popular player with the Indians, and Terry signed a multi-year deal and very happy to be back in uniform and in the dugout.
Full count. Cleveland's always been good about the reciprocal.
Yeah, I mean, if we...
The two worst for us always have been Angels and Baltimore.
Yeah, for the Angels, coming back and losing a couple hours, pretty tough. This will be pitch number 72, and Dillon is not near out of the 4th yet.
Two down. Well, Angels coming to play us May 10th, 11th, and 12th, and the 12th is a Sunday, and it's a night game, so it's not us scheduling that. That's
the ESPN nighttime crew.
where teams have got to the point they really just can't stand to play on Sunday nights.
Well, we only have one of those this year.
To another count to Reynolds, who drew a walk back in the second inning. One of two issued by Axe.
Got to be really careful here because Reynolds just thinking about hitting the ball out in the park now that he's ahead in the count.
You're going to get me over breaking ball. Couldn't pull the trigger.
He got a hanging breaking ball. It was very fortunate.
Nice timing jump by Gillespie, and that'll retire the side. We're at the bottom of the fourth, still tied at 1.
Giveaway day. There's wonderful likeness of Harold, and he could swing that bat.
Here's Paulie. Paulie struck out. Takes first pitch strike. 1-2-1 for them. 1-2-0 for us.
Paulie can't believe it, but Chris Conroy said he went. This ball sweeps low and away. Take a look at it from that angle. Could have gone either way and went Masterson's way.
Nah, he didn't go. Right to Reynolds. And a reminder, season tickets for our White Sox have been greatly reduced for the season. Purchase a season ticket plan and gain access to the best seats at the best price with the most benefits. So call whitesox.com or 312-674-1000. Here's Gillespie. And here's what he did leading off the second.
It's our fourth drive of the game. First home run Masterson has given up all year, and this is his fifth start. That's the reason the game is tied at 1.
That pitch at 91, couldn't pull the trigger. 2 balls and a strike.
Two walks already for Masterson, who normally has got pretty good control.
And now make it 3. Got to bring up Alexei. Alexei went out to Swisher in right field.
One of the things you got to bear in mind with Santana behind the plate last year, he led the American League with 10 pass balls. And occasionally Masterson will sweep that breaking ball in the dirt. That's hard to corral. And if he keeps catching that sinker the way he did, he's probably going to wind up with another pass ball.
Alexei's got to count 2-0. He's now 7 for 41 lifetime off Masterson with a homer. Three and 0 don't help him out. Hector Jimenez on deck. Taking all the way.
I'm not real fond of that stepping out to take a pitch. Stand on top of the plate, take it, give the umpire a good look.
And a full count. There's a chopper 2 hopper. They cannot turn it. So out number 2, and it'll bring up Jimenez. Hector drew a walk back in the second inning. That ball hit well into left center field. Stretch. It's off the wall, so here comes Alexei. He's going to score on the double by Jimenez, and the Sox lead it 2-1.
Hector picked a great time to pick up his first hit of the year. And Brantley, who chased down just about everything in Cleveland, had this ball go over his head. That fastball was up and away. Hector put a charge into it. And at the last instant, just accelerates over the head of Brantley. Even though Stubbs does a nice job of backing up, the tie is broken.
Don't stop now, boys. Come on, Jordan, pick him up. Takes it up on the breaking ball. Jordan struck out his first trip, called out. He was all over it, just underneath it. Advantage, Masterson. 1-2 the count.
It's a pretty good hard slider they threw down and in to Danks. But they haven't been near as frequently effective as they were in Cleveland for the big man.
Going back in there. And he rings him up again. But the 2-out double by Jimenez knocks in Alexei. Sox lead at 2-1.
The fifth inning is brought to you by Fifth Third Bank, creating contemporary solutions for a better banking experience for everyone. Fifth Third Bank, the curious bank, member FDIC.
We're into the top of the fifth inning. Sox lead at 2-1. Solo homer by Gillespie. 2-out RBI double by Jimenez. So here's Chisenhall. He had a little duck snort double himself to knock in the only Tribe run back in the second inning. One and one to count. And the count 1-2. He's calling the inside strike, guys. Not a whole bunch of umpires will do that. Ball hit hard, but we got a man there. It's a hang with him for Chisenhall.
Nice play by Alex in right field.
Here's Drew Stubbs. He's 0 for 1. 1 out, 2, 5, Hit into a 2-5-1 fielder's choice.
I always thought, although he can hit home runs, he has such tremendous speed that if he added just one type of bunt to his repertoire, he'd be in good shape. Because then he would force everybody to play in. As it is, they just don't worry about it too much.
He's a big guy, 6'4". Nice pitch. 2 down.
And he hustled down the line. Keppinger got him by a quarter of a step.
Here's the leadoff hitter, Michael Brantley, is grounded out to Keppinger and going out deep to center field. Taking Danks back up against that Bacardi at the park side almost. Drops a curveball on him.
Good way to start off an at bat because very few, if any, hitters are going to swing at a curveball in first pitch. So if you can throw it in the zone, you pretty much have it.
Very quickly, 0-2. After 8 down in St. Pete, Tampa Bay still leading CC Sabathia and the Yankees 5-1. Bottom of the 4th in Houston, 5-0 Seattle. Off the glove, Keppinger now makes a try at it, can't get it, so it'll be a base hit.
Brantley hits this one in a good spot. Bounces away from Paulie. Keppinger has it, and as he's going to transfer, ball drops. So Ramirez coming in. And Jimenez going out. They're going to talk about who they want to cover in case Brantley takes off. And it's all determined on how they're going to position the defense for Jason Kipnis,
who has gone out to center, walked, and picked up a stolen base. Just a decent lead by Brantley. And that breaking ball fouled back. First of 3 with these Indians. Starting Thursday, 4 with the Tampa Bay Rays, and then it's on the road again. Going to Texas for 3, Kansas City for 3, and the Mets for 2. There he goes. He gone. Right on the money. He'll grab some bench. We're halfway home, leading 2-1.
Temporary solutions for a better banking experience for everyone. Fifth Third Bank, the curious bank. Member FDIC.
Good guys on top 2-1. Top of the order, Diaza, Kebinger, and Rijos. Fakes the bunt, takes a strike. Alejandro has grounded to third, and he has gone out to right. That's a can of corn into center field.
Brantley decided to take off, actually had a decent jump, but Hector throws one right there with plenty of time. Paul Schreiber on the call.
Kebinger 1 for 2. And make it 2 for 3. Little duck snort out there. Pushes it into right field. And here comes Rios.
Well, he broke a long 0 streak in that first inning with the infield hit. But this time, hoops it right in front of Swisher and right.
First pitch strike. Alex, who has walked and struck out. Checks it up. Count evens at 1. That bat shatters. Line drive into left.
Unless you're astonishingly strong, you can't lose that much of the bat and expect to hit it out of the park. And he was left with just the handle and the easy fly out to left.
So here's Adam. Adam has popped up to left and gone out to center. Ball gets away.
That's probably going to be a wild pitch. And it is a wild pitch. So for Masterson, that's the first wild pitch of the year. One of the reasons it's a wild pitch is Santana was setting up low and away, wanted a backdoor slider, and Masterson missed his spot by about 5 feet. And usually catchers can't get across that quickly.
Way outside 2-0. Konerko on deck. To Hopper. So Reynolds takes it himself. That'll retire the side, and we'll go to the 6th. 2-4-0 for us, 1-3-1 for them. 2-1 Sox here in the top of the 6th. Kipnis, Cabrera, and Swisher. So this is the 3rd time around for these guys. And as a rule, it makes them a little more dangerous.
Well, that's when whatever you were using as a game plan early, you go away from.
Kipnis has gone out to center, walked, and picked up his 2nd stolen base of the season. A ball and 2 strikes.
That one just missed him up and in, and I like the fact that he is going inside, especially on the left-handers, because they'll have a tendency to lean out over the plate looking for something away.
That's into right field, right at Rios. 1 out.
Well, once again, you'd have to say that Dylan Axelrod got the ball club where they wanted to be. A little later in the game, he's got the lead, throwing the ball very well for the 3rd out of his 4 starts.
Yeah, he's really been working hard tonight because he has a lot of pitches. His control has not been as sharp. It's been better the last couple of innings. As here's Cabrera, ground out to first and a pop up to left.
They're going to have a decision to make as Asdrubal Cabrera, who does make fairly good money, has another year left on his contract.
Yes, he did.
The reason is their #1 prospect is Francisco Lindor. Everybody says that he's one of those can't miss guys who also is a shortstop and will be substantially less money if he can indeed play the position.
One and 2 the count. That is foul. Just foul. Bottom of the 8th at Citizens Bank Park. Phillies leading Pittsburgh 3-2. Bottom of the 9th in Washington, 3-2 St. Louis.
Tried to drop that one over, but it was a touch wide. It's a good idea. This never comes back.
And a full count.
Bullpen up and going as Dylan's about ready to deliver pitch 101. It is Nate Jones loosening in the pen.
Just to get a piece of that pitch at 81. Top of the 9th in Baltimore, tied at 1 with Toronto. That's softly hit, and Connor just can't get there. And that's the final now from Tampa Bay. 5-1 Rays over the Yankees. The final now from Washington. 3-2 Cardinals. After 8 in Cincinnati, tied at 2 with the Cubs. Seattle leading Houston 6-0, bottom of the fifth. I mentioned earlier, fourth try for Felix Hernandez at win number 100. And another foul ball.
11 pitch at bat so far as he keeps on battling Axelrod. Pretty much ensuring that this is going to be the last inning for him.
Took a little something off. That one at 80. And he gone.
Fourth strikeout after a long at bat. And he finally gets him with a good curveball down.
So here's Swisher. He's 0 for 2, a pop up to short. And he struck out swinging at a curveball. One and one to count. The 32-year-old switch hitter. Atlanta at Colorado postponed. More bad weather out there. Denver. Both those teams with records of 13-5. Ground ball. Good job by Axelrod once again. And we'll go to the bottom of the sixth. He leads it 2-1. Indiana Chevy dealers for their support of local youth baseball leagues. Local Chevy dealers are supporting over 30,000 young players and their communities through the Chevy Youth Baseball program. Since 2010, Chevy dealers have been providing numerous leagues with equipment kits, instructional clinics, and much needed financial support. So from the big leagues to the youth league, Chevy is truly the official vehicle of baseball.
With Paulie leading it off, we could certainly use an insurance run or two. Masterson has been tough. Dillon has been just a little tougher.
Breaking ball, good eye. Paulie 0 for 2, he's due.
Jesse Crane is now loosening in the pen. There's a look at Jesse.
Jesse worked an inning and 2/3 yesterday.
And the bullpen has been used a lot, and for the overwhelming majority of the year has been very effective.
Good take right there. 2-1. That ball high into center field. One out. And a reminder, our Sox and Athletico Physical Therapy both understand the importance of injury prevention in players and fans' daily activities. So visit athletico.com/blog for injury prevention tips. Athletico Physical Therapy, the official physical therapy provider of the White Sox. Athletico, better for everybody. Here's Gillespie, 1 for 1, a homer and a walk. Flips that one into the seats for a souvenir.
McCunners having a great early season, both with the bat and the glove. We had no idea how he was going to be defensively at third, but he's made some outstanding plays early in the season.
That ball into right field. 2 down. Well, so far he looks like he can do it all.
He's 25 years old, which is somewhat surprising that a player who can bring to a club what he can would be allowed to leave San Francisco. But it's a very good team in San Francisco, and Ryan Sabian certainly has proven that he knows his personnel.
Well, that's just good scouting on our part.
Yeah.
And most of the time for a player like that, you will scout contending teams. And of course, the Giants, World Series champions 2 out of the last 3 years. Alexei 0 for 2, but he scored a run.
That ball was way inside and moving consistently further inside.
Two and 2. Hector Jimenez on deck. One, 2, 3 inning. He's retired the last 5 he's seen, but Masterson trails it 2-1.
Don Cooper talking with Dylan Axelrod about the job he did tonight, and it was just terrific. 6 innings, a run on 3 hits. He walked 2, and we're going to show you 3 of the 4 strikeouts. And they were accomplished largely with that breaking ball down. This has been an Indians team that's been on fire, especially hitting the ball out of the ballpark, and Dylan was able to hold him right there. Turning it over to Jesse Crain to see what he can do with a 2-1 lead. Jesse 0-1, the ERA 2.35, on for the 10th time. That puts him the first member of the bullpen to move into double figures. And he's got 3 home run hitters back to back to back to face him here in the 7th.
That he does. Giambi, Santana, and Reynolds. Giambi, a soft single and a run scored in the 2nd inning. And first ball fastball Hunting pops it up into Jordan Danks in center field. So 1 pitch and 1 out.
It's nice to see the big man swing at something that was high, which he wasn't going to catch up to, and a 1 pitch out.
That fastball at 94. And here is Santana, who has struck out and grounded to second. Santana's faced Jesse 5 times, and he's drawn the collar.
Although Santana has that leg kick, what does that raised front foot do for him?
It's just whatever floats his boat, you know. It's just.
Is that the comfort for him? The comfort level?
Yeah.
The raised front foot.
Yeah, a lot of guys use it for a timing device. Most of the time, when you see a guy that much up on his toe, he'll be rocking a little bit and just letting that front toe just touch the ground. Gives him a little better feel. Overcoming the initial inertia.
Does it remind him to stay back? I mean, is that a way of trying to stay back?
That's what all hitters are trying to do, find a way to stay back. Hits him on the fist, pops him up, Keppinger. Good pitch. 2 down. Yeah, that is the never-ending quest of a hitter.
Trying to make sure you don't shift your weight forward on the breaking ball or off-speed pitch.
That's right. So here is Reynolds.
I used to throw a changeup, which was never very good, but then when I saw the hitter's hands move back, didn't matter what he did with his front foot, but if I saw him move his hands back, I knew I was in pretty big trouble.
Yeah.
Because I tipped it off, and he knew it was coming.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's interesting you say that, because your awareness of what the hitter was doing was very good.
Well, that's how you give up home runs to Dwayne Kuiper and Sandy Alomar. You're aware that you could throw that fastball in there and they wouldn't take it out of the park. But they fooled me.
1-1 to count. Reynolds 0 for 4 against Jesse. Mark tonight has walked and then lined hard to third. Very nice timing leap by Gillespie. Dangerous Mark Reynolds. 7 homers, 18 RBIs coming in. Out in front of the breaking ball.
He's one of those guys, and you've seen him periodically, I'm sure, if you're watching any kind of baseball at all. He will absolutely look like a blind man trying to hit for 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden, he'll hit 1 home run, and before you know it, in a week, he's hit 4 or 5. And he's been that kind of a hitter since he's come into the league.
Yep.
And nothing's going to change.
He hits them in bunches. Full count. But you know, the funny thing about Mark is the fact that he really looks at the plate. He looks like he should be a guy who just does not strike out that much, you know, but he just goes after everything, and he's trying to hit it out of the ballpark. That's his MO.
Well, he did figure out something that characterizes a lot of today's game, and that is, doesn't matter what you hit, and doesn't matter how many times you strike out. But if you hit a ball club 30 or more homers and drive in the neighborhood between 90 and 110, they will pay you. And they will pay you regardless of what the other numbers look like, and he's made a career out of it.
He gone. He knew it. Nice. 1, 2, 3 innings. 7th inning stretch. We lead it 2-1.
And one of the guys partially responsible is going to lead it off. Masterson has yet to retire Hector Jimenez.
Hector with his first hit of the season. RBI double in the 4th, knocking in our 2nd run. Takes first pitch strike.
This is first hit of the year, first hit in the White Sox uniform, and put our ball club on top. I think that hit him.
Yeah. Got him pretty good, evidently. Breaking ball. Masterson certainly didn't want to do that.
It's a sweeping slider and gets him right off the shin. And Hermes coming out. Wow,
ouch.
That hit him flush, and there's no meat covering that shin bone.
Out to ethyl chloride. They don't use that anymore.
Well, Hermes going to poke at it a while just to make him feel better.
I'll tell you one thing. If I was playing on this ball club and I took one like that and I saw Hermie coming out of that dugout, I would bust my butt to get on first base.
They're going to take him out of the game, probably put some ice on it and have a look at it. As Hermie apparently didn't particularly like what he felt when he did that exam. So Hector's night is over. He has a perfect but painful night. Lake to Cody. Comes on a pinch run, so he does add some speed.
Come on, boys, let's take advantage of it. As here's Jordan, he's 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. There's been one guy he's made some good pitches on tonight. It's been Jordan. In 2 at-bats, he's only really had one good pitch to hit, and he fouled it back.
He's using that tailing fastball in the inside corner to get a couple of called lookings.
Yeah, and Kellogg's done a good job. There's only about 10-15% of the umpires that call that inside strike, and he's been very consistent on it tonight.
Good way to start it as Matt Thornton now losing in the pen. Make no mistake, this Indian team has a lot of thunder. And Dylan Axelrod held it down for 6.
3-0 the count. Don't help him out. Yeah, Dylan.
Cody Allen loosening in the bullpen.
Dylan got it together. I didn't think after that 3rd inning, I didn't think he's going to be around that long because his control is. There's ball 4. His control, but the last 3 innings it came back to him.
He did that, and the good part about it was what he has to do is change speeds with everything, and that's exactly what he did do. So the bullpen has been called. Mickey Callaway comes out. Mickey had been in the organization for quite some time. In fact, pretty much a brand new coaching staff for Terry Francona. He does have Sandy Alomar Jr. He's one of the holdovers. Mickey Callaway, Kevin Cash, Brad Mills, Ty Van Berkelio, and Mike Sarball round out a brand new staff.
Well, Dylan retired 13 out of the last 14 he saw.
He was very good.
And a reminder, the first 10,000 children 13 and under will receive a White Sox wall cleaning on Sunday, May 26th, presented by Radio Disney. Radio Disney Chicago, your music, your way. So here's Diaz, the corner's in close. Alejandro for 3 tonight. Watch out. They got him.
Heads up play by Santana. Bad base running play by Ducote. Strays too far off the bag. And tags on. Good call by Paul Schreiber.
That's the toughest base running play for the runner at second base and on the base paths right there. Now on first and second bunt situation, and boy, this didn't take long. 2 on, nobody out. Poof! 2 pitches. We're out of the inning and we're into the 8th. Wow.
available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting and is provided by 97.5 FM ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only FM Spanish language sports radio station. So we get a brand new battery. Matt Thornton comes on for the 8th time. His ERA, 3.86. Pitched 4 2/3 innings. And he'll be throwing to Tyler Flowers, just inserted in the game.
And here is Chisenhall. Hit a little duck snort, bloop double, knocking in a run back in the 2nd inning, and then he lined out to right. And he's got a count, 2-0. Come back and get him, Matt. No walks. Well, walks just ate our lunch yesterday, I should say.
Yeah, that was one of the big problems. Lindstrom, Veal, and Crane all walked one guy.
There's the strike.
In a close ball game, you do that from your bullpen, you're usually going to drop that one.
Broke his bat. Good comeback by Matt. And a reminder, schedule Southpaw for your birthday party, wedding, holiday party, festival, or block party. To have Southpaw visit your next event, call 312-674-1000 or visit whitesox.com/Southpaw. Yeah, in that 7th inning yesterday, we walked the leadoff guy, Plouffe. He scored. Then 4 hitters later, walked Maurer. He scored. First pitch strike to Drew Stubbs. Stubbs turning it loose right there on that 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and just a little tardy. 0-2. Got that one in on him. That's going to be a souvenir.
He tried to heat him upstairs, but didn't get it quite high enough.
Breaking ball out in front of it, hooks it. Outfield, they're straight up and spread out. Oh yeah, and he can't get the ears on it.
Well, he had a real good idea who was running. And so he tried to rush it. After knocking it down, it goes as a base hit. Stubbs, if not the fastest right-hander in this league getting down to first, he's right up there.
So good speed aboard. He's 2 for 2 in stolen bases. And here's their leadoff hitter, Brantley. He's 1 for 3, had a little infield single, and then was caught stealing on a beautiful peg by Jimenez. If our pitchers give Hector a chance, he's going to get them.
Yeah, Hector had a very good night, and if we get any type of report on that shin, we're going to let you know, because he had to leave the ball game after a perfect night.
There he goes.
Second stolen base of the night. So in a close game, Terry Francona, who didn't have to run very much at all as they were slugging it out with the Houston Astros, has gone to some of the speed here tonight. They're now 7 out of 8 in stolen bases.
Better keep an eye on him. Two 4-0 for us, 1-4-1 for them. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Kipnis on deck. Come back and get him, Matt. 3-1 pitch. It's full. Flips a little breaking ball up there and got a strike. And a base on balls.
There is nobody up in the bullpen, meaning it's Thornton against the world at this point. And after the left-handed Kipnis, regardless of the resolution of this at bat, got two switch hitters in Cabrera and Swisher who are better from the right side than the left.
First pitch strike. Kipnis going out to center, walked. Picked up a stolen base, and then last time up in the 6th inning, lined out to Rios and right. Two and one. Looking for it, got it, and couldn't do anything with it.
He got this fastball pretty much down the middle.
Watch out. Wow.
Well, that forces now the infield to come in at all 4 positions for Kipnis. Makes it a completely different at bat. It's going to most likely go E1. Take another look at it. Not a good throw, and there's no way that Alexi's going to make that play as it goes between the legs of Stubbs.
He gone. 2 down.
He went up and in with the heat and threw it right by Kipnis.
So here's Cabrera. He's grounded to first, popped up to left, and struck out. And there's a base hit. "3-2 Cleveland." So the walk again, jumps up and bites us right in the behind.
Well, the problem with turning Cabrera and Swisher around is both of them swing the bat better right-handed. And Cabrera, who had had a very tough night up until this at bat, picks on a first ball fastball. Just RBIs 4 and 5 for the year, but it's enough to put the Indians on top 3-2.
Here's Swisher. Cabrera with a good lead. There he goes. No chance.
For a team that had 5 all year, they have 3 tonight. As Matt uses that high leg kick, slow delivery, and Cabrera just outruns the baseball.
So the walk to Brantley, and then the big error. And they're going to put Swisher on.
Vinny Pastano loosening up in the bullpen. And I would assume it's probably going to be Ryan Rayburn. With no right-hander up in the pen, let's see if they take down Giambi. Nope. They're leaving him in.
We are just finding ways to beat ourselves. It's just that simple. Giambi 1 for 3 with a run scored.
Well, each and every game, and we haven't had what you would consider a laugher quite yet. But each and every game, as close and as tough and as tight as they have been, one critical mistake, either a bad thought process or bad execution, will eventually do you in.
One pitch. But they come up with a pair. We gave them 2 gift runs and they lead at 3-2. It's like we're just trying to figure out to invent ways on how to beat ourselves.
Well, unfortunately, when you're in a streak as we've been, every little mistake or big mistake winds up bearing you, and hopefully tonight will be an exception. But we did give up the lead.
Well,
and here is our Honda game summary. Indians leading 3-2. They've out hit our Sox 5-4. There's been an error apiece. Ours particularly costly. Gillespie with a solo home run in the second. Jimenez with an RBI double in the fourth. And Axelrod, a brilliant performance, 6 innings, 1 earned run. So it brings Vinny Pistano into the game. That is the Honda game summary. Your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Honda dealers, as reliable as the cars themselves.
Lord have mercy. Man. It's getting old. Here's Keppinger. He's 2 for 3 tonight. Big sweeper.
Pistano usually very tough on right-hand hitters.
That's into right field. Swisher giving chase. He's there and makes the catch. There's Alex. Alex has walked, struck out, and lined out to left. And he has faced Pistano 4 times, and he's drawn the collar. 3-5-1 for them, 2-4, and a huge one for us. Put a good swing on it, just could not square it up. Come on, Alex, get on for the big guy. He did not go. Full count. Ball 4 base hit right here.
Pistano doesn't have the quickest times to home plate, so if Alex can find his way on, that'd be a great candidate to run. But first things first.
Hanging tough. And another good job, fight that pitch off. That ball hit high off the end of the bat. Just a hair too quick. And that's out number 2.
Well, he was thinking about taking him out of the ballpark. That was ball 4. It was way up and out of the strike zone. And hitting it that far off the end of the bat, it'd be Superman to get it out of the park.
Here's Adam. 0 for 3 tonight. A pop up to left. He's going to fly out to center. And a grounder to first. They got the shift on. Breaking ball strike.
Pretty good pitch down and in. Had most of the plate.
Adam 2 for 5 against Vinny with a homer. But very quickly 0-2. We're into the ninth. We trail it 3-2.
Here's our Xfinity home, and you can tell the top home records. The Colorado Rockies finally lost. They're 8-1. San Francisco 7-2, and Cincinnati 10-3 heading into action tonight. Xfinity from Comcast gives you a front row seat to all your favorite sports. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. And Nate Jones comes in the game for the 8th time. The ERA just over 4. He has an 0-1 record.
Santana, Reynolds, and Chisenhall. Breaking ball strike. Santana, a strikeout. A ground out to second and a pop up to second. Oh, and 2. For our guys in the bottom of the ninth, Canerco, Gillespie, Ramirez.
And we will most likely be facing Chris Perez.
Out in front and chops it foul. Bottom of the second out at the Big A. Texas leading the Angels 2-0. He wanted it up and he got it there.
Wants that high heat, but he'd like it inside. I'm not sure if any catchers have the arms to flag that one down.
That's high and deep into right field. Alex is there. And a reminder, MLB.com at bat is the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for your iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. Breaking news, video highlights, and a whole bunch more. MLB TV Premium subscribers can get at-bat premium features for free and watch live games. So text at-bat to 31826. Reynolds 0 for 2 with a walk. Matt Moore beats Sabathia down in St. Pete. Moore 4-0 with under a 2 ERA.
He's got some overwhelming stuff, and there's a very good chance that we're going to be seeing him.
Oh, we're going to get him. Did not check it up. Last year, one of the best games of the season was Chris Sale and Matt Moore. Sale prevailed. That's into left field. And that's 2 out. So here's Chisenhall.
There's some very good young, hard-throwing starters around baseball. The Mets have one. We got a good chance of seeing him because we see the Mets twice. Matt Harvey. He's 4-0, and the last time he hooked up head-to-head with Steven Strasburg, he made Strasburg 1-3.
High and wide. And there's a base hit on a changeup. That'll bring up Stubbs. Started off that 2-run 8th with a 1-out infield single.
Well, Chisenhall has yet to try to steal a bag, but the Indians have been running at will.
Indians 3 for 4 in stolen bases tonight. That one at 99, right on by.
Never been anything wrong with the heat, and I don't think that Stubbs can catch up with that. Not many folks can.
Out at 98.
Looked like a pretty good pitch, but our pitch track shows it's just off the corner.
Short lead by Chisholm. He gone. All right, guys, let's do this. Come on. We trail at 3-2, bottom of the ninth.
Perez does have a record. He does have a 150 ERA. This is 7th appearance. He's got a couple of saves. Worked 6 innings, giving up just 1 run. That on a home run. Walked 2, fan 6. And it's time to tack a couple on Perez and go home.
So Paulie will start it off. Paulie 0 for 3 tonight. He's due. And he's 4 for 13 against Perez. The 4 hits, 2 of them stayed in the park. Breaking ball strike. A little too quick, hooks it foul and count very quickly 0-2. No, Paulie, you're a 2-strike hitter, buddy.
Perez gets the break on this one. Could have gone either way. Looked like it's a touch wide. Paulie, realizing that, took it and got rung up by Jeff Kellogg.
Gillespie has homered, walked, and gone out to right. And there's the base hit. He is now 1 for 2 off Perez. More importantly, tying run aboard.
Short, quick stroke. Able to take advantage of a ball on the inner third and take it to the right side. So he'll leave for a pinch runner. But a good night for Connor Gillespie as Tyler Green comes in.
And here's Alexa. He's 1 for 9 against Perez.
Joe McEwing looking down in the dugout to see what Robin wants in this situation. Then flashes his signs to Green at first.
Getting pretty good lead. He takes off. That ball hit way back. Stay fair. Stay fair. It won't. Pad. Gummit.
It's the ultimate hit and run, but unfortunately it hooked foul. Green is going, and Alexei just a hair too soon. He has the distance, it's not the direction.
Once again, pretty good lead. 3-6-1. For the Indians, they scored 2 in the top of the 8th. We just gave them 2. 2-5-1 for us. Two and 2 the count.
Very difficult for Perez from that set position, which is up high and almost across his body. It's hard for him to get a quick throw to first base. So if Green wants, he can probably take another step on the lead. Too big an arm swing. When he does make that throw to first, you're not gonna deceive him enough to pick him off there, and you're not quick enough to do it.
Full count. That pitch is popped up and playable. So 2 out, and that'll bring up Tyler. Last time these two guys faced each other was back on October 2nd. Next to the last game of the season when Perez hit him in the hand and broke his hand.
Yeah, let's get a measure of revenge here. Outfield as deep as you can get around and still be in the ballpark. That is the definition of a no double set.
Breaking ball way low and away.
Nice stop by Santana as he shifts to his right. He's able to keep the tying run from standing at top second base.
and this should do it. This ball game is over. So we find another way to beat ourselves. We gave them 2 gift runs in the top of the 8th inning. A huge error. Base on balls did not help because it scored. And that turned out to be the winning run. And we'll be back.